Hi guys, it's Rach. Today I am sitting down. I've actually got everything out to film my 2015 favourites, but I was putting some makeup on my face and I thought now would be the perfect time to do a little first impressions test review of the Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit, the cream contour kit. I hauled this back in December last year and I mentioned that I could do a first impressions and a lot of you wanted to see that. So this is going to be a newbie first impressions. I have not tried this at all. I swatched it briefly and that was it. I am not a pro cream contour person. It's not something I do regularly or really do at all. So this is going to be a true like novice test of the product. We're just going to see how it goes. I have the shade Fair. It does come, I think it may be 4 different shades. I could be wrong. I'll put any pertinent details like where you can get it, the price, things like that in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. All my social media links will be there as well, so you could check some of those out while you're at it, and don't forget to subscribe if you are new so you can keep up to date with all my videos. But with that all being said, let's just get started trying out this product. So I'm firstly going to get my hair out of the way. Now we have 6 shades to choose from, and the reason that I was drawn to this one in particular was because out of all the different options, the Fair had the most cool toned contour shades, and that's what I go for. Cool tone contour shades generally mean that they're going to be grey based or greyish, so that they're going to mimic a kind of shadow on the skin and therefore are the best for sort of contouring the face. A lot of people do use bronzers to contour it or do like a bronzer, which works for certain skin tones, but particularly for paler skins, cooler tone contours is what you want to go for. If I just sort of feel these initially, they have like a little bit of sort of tack to them when you first sort of start rubbing, but then as you kind of keep on going, they do have a fair bit of slip to them. They are quite a solid product, so I'm interested to see how they blend on the skin, and I should have forethought now that I've got dirty fingers. Okay, we're back in action. I do have a light layer of foundation on my skin first. I know that sometimes when you cream contour you can do the whole like you put the contour and then you use your foundation to blend. I may do that, but I thought I'll just have a light layer to begin with. I used the EX1 Invisiwear today mixed with a little bit of the Face Atelier white foundation just to get the correct shade match for me. Just a very, very light layer. I do find that in general when trying anything new, it's best to apply with one brush and blend with another. So I've got the Real Techniques. This is the pointed foundation brush. And I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take this lighter shade here first. I am intrigued by this one. This one is a little bit warmer, but it's also a bit darker. I'm going to start with this one. We're just going to give it a crack. This is all trial and error. It could end very badly. We will soon see. I'm going to draw a very thin line just right almost on like the down curved edge of my cheekbone. This is my cheekbone here. This is the hollow kind of here. So I'm kind of drawing it on the very edge of the cheekbone, not quite in the hollow, because generally when you blend, you're supposed to blend up, but a little bit of product blends down and you don't want it too low. So we're aiming for high cheekbones. And I'm just kind of bringing it no further than like the edge of my, it's actually pretty much the edge of my brow. I'm going to take the Real Techniques, this is the contour brush, and I'm just going to sort of try and blend that out. I only applied a very small amount. It seems to be blending out quite easily. I feel like I've almost blended it out to practically nothing. So you can go for a really light contour. I didn't have too much trouble. I would say because they are a bit stiff, I'd probably do sort of like one section at a time, maybe, just particularly when you're trying out, just to be, I don't know, safe. You don't want to end up with some like harsh lines or not being able to blend out the product. I might apply just a touch more to this sort of back part here, kind of bringing it down a little bit further. Sorry, my baby hair is going to get all in the way. And again, I'm just blending it upwards. It doesn't seem to be disturbing my base too much at this point. It doesn't seem to be like caking up with the foundation, so that's a good sign. And I also might apply some to the side of my jaw going down. Because I have kind of a square face, I tend to start a little bit higher and then bring it down underneath the jaw just to try and smooth it out, round it off a little bit, make it a little bit more narrow. Okay, that sort of blended out again really, really easily. I'm really not applying much product because I'm so scared of going over the top. It's funny, with powder you would think like I'm so much more just blasé about it. I'm actually thinking of trying this darker shade here. I'm just going to pop this kind of in that same spot where I did that before. And pop it a little bit over here just to see if I can emphasize the contour a little bit more. I keep on checking in the camera because in the camera versus real life can look quite different. In real life, I feel like I can barely see any product. But I guess that's a good thing because it means that it's working. I'm just going to do a touch down the nose. I might mix these two shades just to get a little bit. I'm just going to draw a thin line, kind of sweep it underneath. The only other place that I tend to contour a little bit is sometimes just underneath my lip a little bit, just to make it seem a little bit more pouty. I'm going to pop a little bit under there, why not? This is all about trial and error and just like testing the waters, testing the product out. Okay, so that is a first initial light application. It really doesn't look too much, but I tend to not go too over the top with these kind of things. And as a complete noob to it, and definitely not a makeup artist by any means, I found that that was quite simple to do. It probably, because I was thinking about it more, it probably would take me more effort than your usual powder like contouring, just because I don't think about that when I do it, whereas this I was trying to be careful. I was trying to make sure I didn't disturb my base, trying to make sure that we've really blended in. Considering how sort of hard that they feel, I found that on my skin it seemed to blend quite well. I have heard that some people with dry skin find these a touch dry and maybe mix it with an oil, which is definitely a possibility if you are on the drier side, although like I said, it seemed to blend pretty easily for me if you just sort of work in sections and blend out as you go. I'm going to try, we do have 3 highlight shades here. We have quite a white shade that has a little bit of a pearlescent sheen to it, and then we have 2 almost skin colored shades, really depending on your skin tone. They do have a yellowness to them. Some people, if you are really, really fair, I would say that these might be almost potentially darker than your skin. I'm going to take a little bit on this Real Techniques setting brush. I'm going to start with this shade here and just see how this one goes. Oh, I had a little bit of dust on my brush. That was not good, Rachel. And I'm just going to try applying a little bit of this just to underneath my eye area. So you can see, whoa, that is actually quite light and quite bright. On first impressions, it does seem to be giving me a little bit of coverage, although I think I would generally apply a little bit of under eye concealer to this sort of innermost part of my eye first. Should have done that, lesson learned. But other than that, you could definitely use this to brighten that under eye area. That actually looks quite stark. I'm just going to see if this shade, it's kind of hard to tell looking at them which shade. These two look very, very similar, which isn't supposed to be lighter. This one's called Soft Light and this one's called Fair, I believe. Or is it the other way around? This is Mink. So this one must be Fair and this one must be Soft Light. It's backwards on the sticker. I'm going to take a little bit of this just to see. I just want to see if this is like a different shade. What I might do with this one is actually just apply a little bit underneath the contour. Ooh, okay. So my first reaction to that is that if you have like little baby hairs on your face here, which is what a lot of people do and what I do, you do have to be careful because it is kind of sticking to them a little bit, not terribly, but it does make the product visible on your skin. And as you can see, it is actually quite light. So if you are fair, I have a bit of a tan, more so than usual, but it is definitely showing up on me as being paler than my natural skin tone. I'm sorry that I keep looking in the viewfinder, but I need to see what's going on. I'm going to take a little bit more and just run it right down the center of my nose. I probably should have got a smaller brush for this, but I'm just going to pinch, sort of blending upwards a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit and just pop that just above my brow bone to sort of lift that. I might even take a little bit of my finger and apply it just underneath the arch of the brow as well to help lift. There is this kind of shimmery shade here. I really don't know how this is going to register on the skin, so let's just try it out. I might put this right at the top of my cheekbone. You know what, it's more of a glaze. I don't know if that really did that much. It might add a little bit of a sheen, not so much a colour. Yeah, it kind of gives your skin a pearlescent sheen. But I feel like this one applies better with a finger rather than a brush. So I think that's pretty much how I would use this kit on my sort of base foundation application. One thing I think I will do is I applied my foundation with a beauty blender today, so I'm just going to bounce over the top of where I've applied product just to make sure it's really like sunken into the skin. To be honest, looking at it in my magnified mirror here, it really doesn't look like it's sitting on the top of the skin too much. It's not an overly makeup look, if that makes sense. So you could still get away with this in the daytime. It's probably a little bit much for a lot of people's everyday makeup, but if you do like doing a full-on contour routine, you can do this and you won't look like you're going out clubbing in the day. You can obviously have a much heavier application, but for me personally, I do prefer a more natural look when it comes to contouring, so I just wanted to give it a shot as an everyday person and what I would use it for. I do think I would probably go in now that I've done this and still set it with probably a powder contour and maybe even like a lightening powder for underneath the eyes to keep that in place. So it's almost adding like an extra step. But in saying that, looking at my skin now without putting any powders on the top, it's probably hard to see in the camera, and I'm sorry about the lighting is probably desaturating it a little bit so you can't see it as clearly, but it does look a lot like my skin. Because it is a cream, it probably melts in with my foundation a little bit more and therefore is less visible in a way, which is definitely a good thing if you are going for a more natural look. And like I said, first time trying it, I could definitely perfect my application, maybe go a little bit heavier in the contouring. I do think that my contour has blended out a little bit more than usual. In saying that, it may be the brush that I use. I picked these ones specifically because they're synthetic, although I usually use a real hair kind of thin brush. I can find it for you. I usually use the face paint brush from Zoeva, so I'm only using a corner of that and I can keep my sort of blending to a more precise area, I guess. So that's something to think about in terms of what brushes that you use for this product. But overall, I do give it a thumbs up. I quite like it. I'm impressed with the color range. Looking at a lot of the cream contour products on the market, unless you're going to the more pro ones where you buy individual shades, a lot of the kits to me are just way too warm. So this one is definitely a great option if you are looking for a cooler toned product. I don't think it's necessarily for everyone, but if cream contouring is really something that you have wanted to try, then I do think that this is a palette worth looking at least from my first impressions. So I hope this video has been helpful for some of you. Like I mentioned, check the description box for any extra info, and other than that, I will see you guys all next time. Bye!